Welcome back again, everyone. In this video we're going to talk about soul agreements, soul contracts. For many of you it probably will be a familiar experience, a part of your knowing. But for some of you it may well be a new topic. You may not know about these agreements that we've made. But we feel that this is an important part of these materials, this course, because certainly if you look out at the world, if you put the news on at the moment on the TV, a lot of the things that you're seeing are trouble and strife, war, lack, hunger, people losing their homes, governments that can't agree with each other. But there is a reason that all this is happening, and one of the reasons is, which this video is about, is our collective soul agreement with each other. And the collective soul agreement is, for instance, from country to country. For instance, you look at Israel and Palestine. You look at the strife that's going on, for instance, inside of Libya at the moment, with Colonel Gaddafi and all of the old energies. I mean, if you look at the way the country was run, it was run from a tyrannical point of view. And that's just not allowed to continue. It's just not allowed to work anymore. And together, so many souls agreed that at a certain point it would reach a climax, and then they would stand up, and then they would start to resist, and then they would be open to change. And that's exactly what's happening in that country. If you look, for instance, for instance, Egypt.
Yes.
What happened in Egypt there? It was as if the whole country stood up and said, no, we're not going to accept this way of being anymore. It just doesn't work in this new vibrational world that we're entering into. And look what happened. The government changed. And whether it's moving forward or not, we don't really know, but we have to believe that and a lot of young people came out to protest, to be a part of what was going on there. And the beautiful thing about this is indeed these young people they just can't live in this kind of vibration, so they're standing up and protesting.
Yes, because the old system, it doesn't work anymore.
No, the old system is enslaving.
Was not in balance, is not in balance.
No, and it certainly wasn't in, for instance, I mean, we've done several videos that you've already watched about the divine feminine and the divine masculine working together in harmony and in love, in appreciation, in acceptation, together working as one entity. And in those countries it certainly isn't that way.
No.
And so we'll see a lot of these conflicts coming up even more in the near future. But understanding that this is a soul agreement to lift these countries up into another level of being, another level of consciousness, lifting them up away from the old. Another expression or another way that we can look at this is, for instance, the governments around the world.
Yes.
We're looking at left and we're looking at right, and they seem to be saying the same thing, but when one of them gets in power, boy, they sure do change their ways, don't they? Yeah. You know, we used to say that the governments are for we the people. Oh my goodness, they certainly aren't now, are they? There are others in control in the governments, and it's not the faces that you see or that you've elected as the presidents. No, there are other organizations, there are other importances, groups with different values, different reasons that are behind these governments and are funding them. But all of that is coming to the surface, and this too was a part of our collective soul agreement to start to see through these things. To start, of course, to feel the discomfort of them. But once we felt the discomfort of them, we needed that kick up the bum to make us stand up and make us say, no, this has got to go back to governments for we the people.
Yes, but it's also to put the truth
Yeah.
into the light. We can see what is happening, really.
Yeah. And again, here's another example. Look at the way herbs, for instance, homeopathy, how that, if you will, through the governments around the world is being banned.
It's manipulated.
Isn't that a little bit crazy?
Yes.
Just imagine you and I with our little herb garden. We're actually doing things, once these laws are passed, we'll be illegally working with these herbs. We could be put in prison for it.
Yes.
Man,
Vitamins.
it's crazy. It's vitamins, exactly the same. Codex Alimentaris, I believe that one of these organizations is called. We haven't really stepped into what they're doing, why they're doing it, because we understand that this is on a conscious soul agreement level, that this all has to take place so that humanity reaches a phase of discomfort, and that discomfort will then eventually make enough people stand up and say, no, we will no longer accept this. But there's also something else that we'd really like to talk about here as well. Just to know that we are being helped, we are being guided, and there is light on the other side. And it's a beautiful book written by James Redfield called The 12th Insight. Don't know whether you can feel it or not, but before Mario and I start these videos, we step into an energy that they call agape, A-G-A-P-E, which is, I believe...
divine love.
No, but what language did it come from? Can you remember?
Egypt, I thought.
Strange how all of those things just out of your mind. But anyway, it's a foreign language indeed, and we can't quite remember which language it was born from. But it's an energy. If you just open yourself up to agape, something happens inside of you, and you feel a rush of love running through you. But the beautiful thing about these integrations and insights from James, the way he's put it, we've done a lot of these things ourselves in our own videos, in this whole package that you're now studying. There's a lot of the things that he's talking about, it's already in there. But the beautiful thing that James does, he brings it all together. He finds a way to bind them and to take them up in slight integration, so that you're integrating each step of the way a new level of consciousness for yourself. And the beauty of that is, at a certain point, there'll be enough of us that are working in these levels of integrations that we'll actually be able to simply talk our truth about how we see it happening, how we see what's going on. Perhaps even this video will contribute to lifting you into a new consciousness, because we, in essence, are beings of one whole energy process. And as one begins to understand, and what we love to call the neurological pathways are being created to bring us into alignment, into balance, into love consciousness. This too is a collective consciousness agreement, a soul agreement. So already we're seeing through these wonderful magical works from, for instance, James Redfield, and there are, of course, others. For instance, this, the Shambhala Oneness. In fact, actually, it's quite comical, isn't it, sweetie? Because when we started actually bringing these materials through, if you look at the time period that it usually takes to write a book, James and us were probably starting in the same time period, and we're coming out now just as he come out with his book. And this is intended to assist us all to understand, first of all, First of all, we understand what's going on, what has been going on, and understanding that we can now choose for love, abundance. And this is the sole agreement on that major level that we all made before we incarnated into this life cycle. So every single one of you that's listening to this video, every single being on this planet is a very special soul. And we did make all of these soul agreements with each other collectively beforehand. Let's just touch on one more topic, sweetie, if I may. If you look, for instance, what's just happened recently in New Zealand.
Yes.
If you look what's just happened recently in Japan.
Yes.
Look at the amount of life that was lost there. Folks, I know you're feeling it because we can feel it running through our bodies right now. But can you feel the love,
yes.
the love that it cost for all of those souls that lost their lives? It happened for a reason. It also happened so that yet again we'd be confronted with things that are happening here on earth that need to change. We collectively need to change. These things are happening, and these souls agreed to go through this death experience in these disasters so that we would be uplifted. We'd certainly be made awakened and aware. And another beautiful thing that came out of it, certainly in Australia when a lot of the disasters started to happen there, we got reports back of how the Australians were coming out onto the streets. Those that did have made sure that those that didn't have, they got. Something's shifting, and you can feel it.
Yes.
You can literally feel it, that this soul agreement is now taking place. Oh, thank God. Thank us all, that we are now shifting into the collective consciousness of consciousness. Ah, what a beautiful thought. What a beautiful feeling.
It's all about compassion.
It starts with compassion. It starts with compassion, and then we move into love. And folks, we're getting so close now. Please continue. Please feel what we've shared with you. Please share it with others. Collectively, we will make that difference. We are making that difference already. And we are creating the new human and a new earth. Oh, isn't that just beautiful? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.